Addiction is killing our country. I'm Peter, founder of Intervene, a health and wellness platform tearing down economic barriers and revolutionizing the way people in recovery perceive and manage stress. We're a team of students and professionals with medical, financial, entrepreneurial, and design backgrounds who have engaged in a deeply collaborative process addressing the obstacles facing the recovery community. Our country is losing its battle with addiction. Only 20% of people who need treatment receive any. Of that fortunate few, 70% will relapse. I'm certain that everyone listening has been impacted by the specter of addiction. Personally, I've seen friends and family return to rehab time and again, ruining their lives and relationships. 2020 was especially hard on this community. The pandemic contributed to a 30% increase in heroin and cocaine deaths. Effective stress management is essential for these people. Sadly, peak moments of stress are when people struggle the most to access the coping mechanisms they need. Research clearly illustrates that when someone suffering from addiction is placed in a stressful situation, their cravings increase dramatically. It is at this crucial time when they are much more likely to relapse. Stress drives craving. There are easily detected physiological changes that occur when a person in recovery is experiencing stress. Simply, the addicted brain works differently. There are a few people who know as much about this as Intervene co-founder and addiction psychiatrist, Dr. David Martirano.
Imagine a tool designed to stop craving before it starts. A group of sensors that look for telltale signs of stress, checking in with the wearer and allowing them to avoid that deer in the headlights moment where primitive regions of the brain take control and drive impulsive behaviors. This is addiction. Drugs, gambling, shopping, eating, and sex. When people are cued by stress, anxiety increases and they relinquish control. This is the crucial moment where relapse happens as people lose their ability to effectively self-regulate. Most cognitive behavioral therapies recognize that there is a learning zone, the moderately stressed state. Too little stress, and there's no impetus to learn. Too much stress, and learning stops. This autonomic middle ground can be recognized and detected by the Stress Shield's biometric sensors. This is the time where rehearsed adaptive behaviors can be substituted for established compulsions. Haptic check-ins provide frequent, unobtrusive moments where the Stress Shield learns about the wearer while providing insight into stress levels. The system is constantly refining and personalizing its biofeedback via these haptic check-ins. Subtle arm presses against the wall of the chest enable the wearer to train the system without interrupting what they're doing. For years, I've encouraged patients to use wearable tech to try to understand their bodies better. Nothing on the market comes close to the Stress Shield in meeting the complex needs of people who really want to understand how stress levels affect their decision-making and will help them change their lives.
Remember when we said 80% of people suffering from addiction never receive any treatment? This is primarily driven by exorbitant healthcare costs. Our goal is to deliver an affordable option to those in need while offering treatment facilities the opportunity to provide data-driven care, differentiating them in a highly competitive market. Our solution, utilizing off-the-shelf components, projects to cost $300 with a subscription fee of $40 per month. Here's Intervene co-founder Ryan Gallagher, currently the business director of a 150-bed health facility in Massachusetts, to tell you about our opportunity.
Intervene's unique advantage is our connection to our market. Our ties are evidenced by the letter of intent from our beta testing site, Berkshire Transition Network, and give us the ability to access our beachhead and deploy our product B2B. Our eventual goal is to scale to become a direct-to-consumer business, reaching the universal addiction treatment market. This market of addiction treatment is currently $17 billion and is projected to grow to $31 billion over the next 5 years. Intervene will target the $2.8 billion residential segment, expected to grow 7.4% annually. As of 2019, the consumer wearable market was sized at $32 billion and is expected to grow by 15% annually. There are 21 million people suffering from addiction in the United States. Of those suffering, about 2.2 million people are in the stage of their addiction where our tools can offer impactful help. We view about 30% of that segment to be potential buyers of this product, or roughly around 690,000 people. With an LTV of $527, we would estimate that $363 million gross, or $145 million net, at a 40% margin. There are about 16,000 treatment facilities in our beachhead market, averaging 40 people per facility, or 640,000 patients at a given moment in time. If we sell to 10% of these people per year, we would earn revenues of $33 million with a net of $13 million.
All initial funding we receive will be used to contract with a medical device engineering firm, attract the right person for the critical CTO role, deliver our product to our beta site, and develop the market-ready version of the Stress Shield. The funds received from McCloskey will give us a massive advantage in the dozens of meetings we have scheduled with investors over the next 2 months. Our goal is to raise $272,000 by the end of 2021 and $250,000 by the following year, carrying us through the beta phase and delivering our product to the market. Thank you very much for coming today. I'm looking forward to speaking with you further about Intervene and the Stress Shield.
Judges, please feel free to ask questions.
Great.
Yes, this is Martin Scruggs. Question: does your device require an FDA approval or clearance?
Our device does not require an FDA approval based off of the way we've interpreted the law. I would be happy to read to you our interpretation of those laws, but because we're focused on stress, health, and wellness, we believe we can sidestep the FDA approval process and deliver our product to market much faster than that.
Okay. I know a lot of times anything that's touching the patient's body and you're giving some kind of diagnosis, it's either some type of clearance or approval, but I'll leave that for your experts to see.
So Martin, I think it's a great question. I'm a licensed attorney in the state of Massachusetts and Wyoming. I've read detailed through the FDA approval process and the regulations, and we've run it by a number of professors at the University of Wyoming and the University of Notre Dame. And we believe, because of the analysis that we've conducted and the exceptions that apply to the rules, we're not actually committing to anything medically. So we don't really fit within those strict criteria. It's an exception to the rule. And that's why we believe that we don't need the FDA approval process at this time.
Okay.
And Martin, I'm a physician, and we aren't diagnosing a condition. So addressing stress levels is not a medical diagnosis.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm curious if you all have tested this in any way with users yet. I just couldn't tell like how developed the prototype is, or if you've been able to do that yet.
So I think I can take the lead on that. So I have about now close to 30 years in biofeedback and those areas. So yes, I have tested various elements of these sensors in various applications and have used it extensively. In terms of the actual prototype we're developing, we haven't built the prototype because it's a super important piece of equipment. All of the sensors already exist. There isn't anything, we're integrating them in a new way, but there isn't really anything that we needed to test further. And there's plenty of research already, established research, especially around the breathing and the cardiac measurements, that really don't necessitate a prototype before we went to the next steps.
Based on that response, is there any IP that is involved, since you're taking a lot of off the shelf? Is it your AI, or is there some type of algorithm that is proprietary for y'all?
The IP that we'd be developing is specifically the cross-referencing of the different sensors. So when we're integrating that information, that will be our fundamental IP. The use of breath sensors or cardiac measurements, it's such an established field that I think it'd be very difficult that way to develop any IP. I think that the integration with the behavioral therapies that we'll be supplying, kind of taking those three different areas, is the primary areas of intellectual property we'd have.
Would you anticipate that it is the consumer, the patient, who is paying for this, or would this go through insurance in your mind in some capacity?
So we think that mostly it'll be the consumer that's paying for it. That there are actually applications where insurance could pay for this. But what's interesting about the addiction field is that actually 90% of people pay for the treatment out of pocket. So it's a little bit of It's a little bit of a non-traditional payment structure.
Also, going back to Martin's point earlier, if we aren't diagnosing and treating an illness, it gets harder to kind of go after insurance dollars as opposed to consumer dollars.
But I agree with that. I'm just thinking about your strategy about going into the different facilities. And so I think one of your comments was that this would be a competitive advantage for a facility. So envisioning that the facilities would buy and offer this as part of their complete offering. We're just trying to understand, or this would be offered direct to consumers who are not in a facility setting.
So I think I could take this one. So I run a 150 bed inpatient, outpatient facility here in Massachusetts. If you look at the needs that currently exist within the United States, there's huge boarding issues across the United States right now, and hospitals are actually losing about $2,200 a day per patient bed at some of the ERs and EDs. And I'm sure Jack, Mr. Shields could probably attest to some of these numbers, but the point is that this would allow a lot of the people that are in our PHP and IOP programs to transition or implement this type of strategy into their daily lives. And when you're paying for something like that, it can definitely be part of the discharge process, or it can be part of your plan moving forward. And so I think that's where it will have a large number of integrations. Additionally, I think it will set us a lot of the facilities apart, provide kind of a niche market, something that they're diversifying themselves with. And I think that's really where we fit in, and can see ourselves kind of changing the game, or at least the way that treatment is actually delivered to patients.
To build upon that a little bit, I think that one of the things to take away from that is that we are looking to be a continued care model and part of the discharge process, where we think that as patients are graduating from this step, this is something that these facilities could offer them to continue the sort of intensive observation that they provided when they were in their facility. And
just to go one step further with it. So I'm currently the director of psychiatry at a large hospital. I've been the medical director of a couple of hospitals and also of residential treatment facilities. $300 is not an unreasonable ask, either at the facility purchasing level or at the individual level. Even people who are pretty far down are able to, if there is a device that can help them, come up with that kind of money. So, you know, I have 20 plus years of experience in this area, and I can tell you that that's not an unreasonable ask.
Can I ask a question here? Are you guys familiar with the Oura Ring at all?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we are familiar with that.
Would you say it's somewhat, similar in that it's about, I think those are about $295 one-time purchase. I don't know if they charge monthly, but it gives you certain feedback for sleep, all geared to your sleep and readiness. And it's a ring. Have you guys thought about making something more, less like a Whoop and more like a ring that's easy to wear?
Yes, and I was the biggest kind of opposition to the peripheral monitoring. The challenge really is that one of the core areas is breathing. And when you look at what the difference is between what we're doing and what Oura's doing is breath. You can't possibly measure breathing or train people for breathing peripherally. There's no way. There are subtle variations in pulse pressures related to inspiration and expiration, but they're completely unmeasurable at the finger, for instance, but definitely even at the wrist, you'd have a tremendously hard time and you'd get unreliable data. Furthermore, we have some really interesting data that we acquired around the motion sensors in terms of good diaphragmatic breathing versus really relying on intercostal muscles. And by having sensors that actually measure accelerometers and positional sensors, we're able to differentiate between healthy breathing and also unhealthy breathing. And then the haptics can coach you through vibration about how you're doing with that, much like incentive spirometers in a hospital work. In that regard, you don't want people gasping or taking huge deep breaths. What you'd like to see happen is that they're breathing appropriately and in a controlled fashion. Some of the most recent research on this from Frontiers in Psychology in 2017 and Frontiers in Neuroscience, both of those really have great data on breathing exercises and biometrics there, but there isn't a device on the market that's connecting these. We're going to use stress sensors for coordinating. There's a stretch sensor that just changes resistance as it's stretched. And so we'll be able to coordinate that with these positional sensors and then give very good feedback and coaching on how to breathe correctly.
I applaud what you guys are doing. It is an epidemic. I mean, it's obviously a terrible epidemic out there. And Whoop does have a wrist. And also, what could be cool on your app is if you could connect it to this, you know, all the relevant groups, medical, sponsors, family, for when somebody's, you know, getting stressed. So I applaud the effort. It's, you know, needs a solution.
So two things there, Jack. I'm actually interested. So to get back to David's point, two of the other really key things is that the Oura Ring, Apple Watch, Fitbit, Whoop Band, they all rely on something called PPG, or basically a diffuse optics style of measuring tissue density to give you heart rate feedback. Whereas we're relying on ECG, and ECG is truly the gold standard of heart rate data and feedback in the market. There is a lot of sort of inaccuracies with PPG, and it works to a point, but that's why it's so important for us to locate the center of mass. And I think to get back to your second point, I think one of our core philosophies is trying to connect to community, and building pro-social activities, I think is absolutely key. And you see that across the board. One of our other co-founders, Harrison Johnson, has been adamant about the idea of people who engage in pro-social activities in their addiction or recovery process are far more likely to be successful than those who don't.
Thank you. That is time. I appreciate the outstanding presentation from Team Intervene. Next up, we are going to go into Team Juke. Please share screen and take it away.
Sure thing. Thanks, Matt. Hi, everyone. My name is Liv Anderson, and today I'm accompanied by Griffin Eaton and Luke Wozenchuk to tell you a little bit more about it. Simply put, live musicians have historically struggled to earn a sustainable income, and this is widely due to the lack of a streamlined way to earn tips during a live performance. That's where Juke comes in. We're a web app where requests and tips can live in one place, free from all potential barriers of contact between a musician and their audience. During a live gig, the audience member would find the gig using location or venue name. They would then be able to scroll through a list at their leisure of songs that the band knows how to play. They choose a song request, choose a tip amount, and then they send that tip in using Apple Pay, Google Pay, or credit card information. Just as easily on the musician side, they can keep track of requests and mark as played accordingly. So what was once an awkward and sometimes tedious task is all made possible in 5 clicks without the need for an app download. Our key stakeholders here are the musician wanting to earn more money, the audience wanting to feel engaged, and the venue wanting to enrich the experience of their guests. And with each of these, we found exciting corresponding traction. We have 70 band signups in only a couple of weeks. The average tip amount is $110 per show, and this is a 50% increase from previous earnings. The audience has proven to be engaged with 13 requests per show, averaging $5. And the venue is an exciting route for growth. We now have 4 local partnerships who are eager to integrate Juke into all of their live events. Now off to Luke with the business model.
Thanks, Liv. So how does Juke make money? Well, it's pretty simple. Juke takes a 10% cut of tips earned from each performance. So to put that in perspective, if a band plays 80 gigs per year, averaging $110 a show in tips, then Juke makes $880. So what does the market look like for a business model like this? Well, if we hold tips per show constant, it's mainly a function of how many potential Juke shows happen every year, which is related to musicians. In our calculation, we assume 1 in every 100 Americans is a musician, which equates to roughly 120 million shows per year, and ultimately gives us a serviceable market of about $1.3 billion. As far as competition goes, no one is better suited to capitalize on this opportunity than Juke. Jamjar is the only other company that enables the audience to request songs and tip a musician during the show, but you need to download a complicated app and create a profile with banking information, and no one wants to do that. TouchTunes, JukeStar, and Spark DJ could potentially challenge Juke in the future, but they're currently serving other markets. Now, because we realize these competitors might try to imitate Juke in the future, our plan is to capture as much market share as quickly as possible. This summer, Juke will be launching in Indianapolis, Grand Rapids, Jacksonville, and Denver. We'll focus on selling directly to the musician, incentivizing musician referrals, and exploring partnerships with venues and booking agents. Our plan is to start small, so we can test and refine our growth tactics, and then take what we've learned and apply it to major market cities across America in the spring of 2022. I'll now pass it on to Griffin, who will talk about how this fits into our story and our overarching vision.
Thanks, Luke. I want to start by sharing some of our recent accomplishments. At the end of the summer, we won Notre Dame's Race to Revenue. From there, we completed the development of our platform, and we launched in November. Perhaps most exciting, we started earning our first dollars of revenue. We also created a number of local partnerships with the city of South Bend, Mishawaka, as well as Notre Dame's Idea Week. These partnerships are really important as they're signaling to be channels to find musician signups, as we've had experienced growth through each of those channels. We've also established a college ambassador program at both IU and in Denver. But most importantly, we verified that our product does indeed solve user pain points. And if you'll allow me a quick story, in one gig, the band played for 3 hours, and every song, 57 songs, were all requested and tipped through Juke. And the band earned just shy of $300. And it's been successes like this with our early bands that have allowed us to progress to our next milestone of getting to 100 bands. And in just 3 weeks, we're nearly halfway, or over halfway there. And then if we talk about our current focus, our next milestone is 1,000 bands by the end of the year. And to do this, we'll close our seed round, of which we have 200,000 already committed. And as Luke mentioned, we'll be testing our distribution channels and messaging. We'll also be perfecting the customer experience from first learning about Juke to repeated usage and advocacy. From there, we'll establish our national growth strategy, scaling into major markets. We'll also begin to explore secondary markets. Now, this could be bands that attract larger audiences, or we could, as established earlier, we bring value to a number of stakeholders. And we could, for example, explore deepening our relationships with venues. And as we look out a few years, I want to open up the aperture a bit to the other opportunities that exist for us. Juke's more than just song requests and tipping. I've mentioned venue integration, but we'll also have a really unique data set that's essentially a proxy for how much an audience likes a band. Additionally, there are adjacent live events that could benefit from Juke, or we could enter the entertainment space with original Juke experiences. And it's these types of opportunities that bring a range of potential acquirers, from Spotify to TouchTunes or Live Nation, a company with 40,000 venues just waiting for a Juke integration. And lastly, I'll share the incredible, that I'm joined by an incredible team. 2 individuals have played key roles in the growth of 5 SaaS startups. And we also have over 25 years of music industry experience. And finally, we're a highly functioning team with complementary skill sets that flat out gets things done. Thank you, and we're excited to field your questions.
Okay, 10 minutes for Q&A with Team Juke.
I can go first. Bobby Achetu here. A couple questions on the numbers. First, there was an assumption around 1% of the adult population being musicians. If I can just get some clarity on that, around, my thought would be they don't just need to be musicians, they need to be out playing gigs. And so just wanted to validate that that's accurate and how you came up with that number. And then the second question, I think I saw that there's a 50% uptick in the tips that are generated. And I just wanted to make sure I heard that right. How much of that is the value prop here? Because I think if that is correct, that's a huge value prop for these bands.
Yeah, Bobby, thank you for those questions. I can jump in here and answer. I'll start with the second one. So in terms of the 50% increase, what we're typically finding for these types of musicians, and this gets back to the problem, it's hard for part-time musicians to make a livable income. On average, they're making about $200 per show. And so with the Juke's value prop, getting them an additional $100 in tips, that effectively increases their entire income for the event by 50%, which is enormous. And then getting to your other question, Liv, if you wouldn't mind flipping to the market sizing slide in the appendix. Cool. So this breaks it down a little bit more in detail. We went with the assumption 1 in 100 US citizens being a musician, because when we were originally trying to get an understanding of musician population in the United States, we were finding numbers that were all over the map. I mean, we found a number from Statista, which is, you know, a credible website, that said there were 28 million musicians in the United States, which would say that our serviceable addressable market was like $13 billion. We felt like that was a little bit too much. So we toned it back to this 1 in 100 US citizens being a musician, more of a conservative estimate. Does that answer your question? And then we further segmented it down into full-time, part-time, and occasional in order to get us to that 120 million shows per year number.
Yeah, this is helpful context. And, you know, I guess where I was going with that is just making sure that that assumption is based off of not just the number of musicians, but the musicians that would ultimately perform in venues and get paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
Question, as it relates to the musicians, so there's no charge to the musician to be a part of your system and upload their songs and edit new songs and take off songs that they want to play and things of that nature. Is that because you're getting 10% and so you're not charging the musician at all?
Yes, that's correct. And I mean, there are obviously opportunities to explore different business models in the future. Say we get a lot of traction and we find that, you know, musicians actually prefer subscription service. We can totally make that change if we need to, but just for getting initial traction, people don't want to, you know, pay $10 a month for a service that they're not sure about. It's easier to do this one-off charge.
I just want to applaud you guys on how quick you've gotten this thing up and running and quick to launch, and even more importantly, quick to revenue. It's very impressive. So I have a couple of questions. One is, how did you get the 70 signups of the musicians so far? And then I also have a question about venues, and you mentioned venues a bunch of times. I guess I'm a little bit like to hear more about why a venue will work with you, or like what that means. Like, do they make any money out of the 10% of tips, anything like that?
Yeah, thanks, Laura. Regarding the 70 signups, so they've come through some of the partnerships I mentioned. So for instance, Mishawaka, they have a summer concert series and they have 15 bands. And as they advertise Juke to them, 10 of those 15 bands signed up. So it's come from that, and then word of mouth from our existing like beta bands, and also some advertisements we explore in some other markets as well. And then as for venues, at the moment, venues are really more of a outside kind of observer, where they're looking at it like, okay, great, my patrons are enjoying this. They're essentially, the musicians are asking the venue, hey, I have this new thing I want to use. Here's what it does. The feedback I'm getting is just like, yep, that sounds great. Really interesting. And so at the moment, they're not taking any part in the money. In the future, in near future, I'd say, we're deepening those relationships will be really interesting, because by essentially the closer we can get to the venue, the better we can make the experience. So we can start to project onto their TVs the list of what's going on, the band logo, and their social media. They can also have help us in setting up some of the different QR codes and things that really activate the audience and advertise that, hey, this band is taking requests. You know, maybe down the road you could potentially start getting into integrations with their like point of sale system or something like that, but that's down the way.
I would also think that you could also do some marketing, and people will pay to market on your system to your customers based on where you are. Here in Houston or here in Texas, we have the South by Southwest, where you have a lot of musicians and things like that. You have a lot of opportunities there to get people who want to market on your system to say, hey, I have this product, come to this bar, or just want to reach out to your customers that you have. So I like it.
Thank you. And yeah, I lived in Dallas for 10 years and been down to South by Southwest and Austin city limits. And I'm a little jealous of your proximity right now.
Griffin, Jack here, how would this also work if it is, or is it too small a market for, I have family members who are starving comedians in Brooklyn and beyond. So would that work? I mean, nobody makes money in comedy early.
Right.
Would this apply there in some way?
It's an interesting, so we've recognized that there are a decent number of adjacent live segments. I'm kind of thinking on my feet right now. No one suggested that, but being a fan of stand-up comedy and been to a number of their shows, there might be a play there. Potentially requesting, sometimes musicians will ask for, okay, or comedians will say, I'm just gonna riff on a topic, or they have like, they have a bank of jokes that everyone loves. And so you could potentially like upvote those jokes that, okay, I'm going to close with these. So there might be, that's really interesting. And certainly that whole scene is, kind of transitioning from LA and down into Texas again.
It is an interesting question because I keep thinking just the cashless economy, right? So where are live venues where even if they're not upvoting anything, just the ability to get cash to a performer, I think is super valuable. And that kind of segues. One of the other questions I was thinking about was, does the musician need the venue more? Does the venue need the musician more? I anticipate we're going to have a lot more live music over the coming months as the world returns to normal. And, with your venue strategy, I don't know this market at all, but there seems to be something to that.
Yeah, and it even has worked virtually. In fact, on St. Paddy's Day, we had an Irish band with just shy of 100,000 followers do a virtual show live from their house in Dublin. They thought they were going to play for 45 minutes, ended up playing for 2 hours. They earned $200. They raved about Juke and the experience. So it kind of frees up a variety of use cases. And even some of our bands locally here will just turn it on, start streaming from Facebook, drop the link into their description. And so even the notion of what is a venue is expanded now, and how you can interact with their audience.
That's super cool. One other quick question on that. You said you guys are unique in that you don't have to download an app. And so I just presume is that the user is going to a link on their phone or through text. How could you just comment on that, please?
Yeah, I could talk about that too.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so actually I think it's underplayed how much of a differentiator just not having to download an app is with Juke. I mean, essentially all you do is you're pointing your cell phone camera at a QR code, and within 5 taps, you're able to request a song and leave a tip to the musician. So it's extremely frictionless, extremely hassle-free. You don't have to, as soon as I see you have to download an app to participate in this song request thing, I'm thinking, no way. But if I just have to open up Safari and I don't even have to type in a URL, my phone just takes me there. It's a really efficient service.
That is time. That is time. I apologize. That is going to be time. Thank you very much, Team Juke, for a fantastic presentation. And we also look forward to your Idea Week event this evening.
Thanks, guys.
We are now on to Team Frankly. Please go ahead and share screen and take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm Heather.
And I'm Jane.
And we're the co-founders of Frankly. Frankly makes braless clothing for every body because everybody hates wearing a bra. In fact, in a 2014 survey of 3,000 women, 92% of women rated their bra as the enemy. I wish I had never met her. That's especially true for women shaped like me. I'm petite, but I'm busty, and that means bras that are designed for me have thicker straps, wider bands, and are in general more uncomfortable and more constricting. They also limit the types of clothing that I get to wear. I don't get to wear the clothing that I'm excited about or that makes me feel confident or beautiful because of the undergarment that has to go with it. And that's why Frankly is working to create clothing that works better for a wider range of cup sizes and makes going braless an option for all.
Heather and I started working on Frankly while we were getting our MBAs at Stanford. We started going more full steam on it. We hired a designer, started buying fabric, sampling, and then the pandemic hit. It made us really question what was going to happen with the business for a while. But then we realized that Frankly actually has a huge opportunity. Women, by and large, have not been wearing their bras during lockdown. And when the world reopens, many women are not looking forward to going back to the status quo. And so we've had a lot of strong traction since we started working on this. And here to tell you a little bit more about that are our teammates, Grace and Gage.
Hi there, my name is Gage Vernon, and I joined the Frankly team because even as a man, I could see what a big problem bras pose to women on a daily basis worldwide, and I wanted to be a part of the solution with this team.
Hi, my name is Grace Canhan, and I was drawn to Frankly because of the team's passion for its mission, which surrounds sustainable and ethical production and empowerment of women. I also resonate with the problem Frankly is solving, and I'm super excited to be a part of the solution. We are also joined by Reagan, our fashion designer, Russ Siegelman, our lead investor, and an informal advisor, Carrie Cooper, who is the former COO of Rothy's, CMO of ModCloth, and VP of Walmart Ecom. With founders who have experience at top fashion companies, startups, consulting, and banking institutions, we have the industry and business expertise necessary to succeed. So you've already heard that 9 out of 10 women hate wearing their bras. Even more importantly for Frankly, 66% of women walk away from clothing they want to wear because they lack the proper undergarments. Women with A or B cups worry about nipple coverage. Women with larger chests worry about support, lift, and security. Compound that with the fact that fashion still explicitly designs for a B cup because that's what looks good on a hanger, and we have a huge problem. The average woman in the United States wears a double D. That means we're drastically underserving over 50% of a $134 billion market. That's why Frankly makes clothes that do everything a bra can do without one, and we make them explicitly with larger busts in mind. Our clothing has all of the benefits of a bra built directly into the clothing itself. We serve a full size range from extra small to extra, extra large. To ensure the best fit possible for women shaped like Heather, we employ a split sizing schema that allows women to go up a size in the bust while maintaining the industry standard waist measurements. To keep exchange and return rates low, our website offers an AI-enabled fit quiz to help women select the right size for their body. This is our first collection, which is focused on clothing that is difficult to wear with a normal t-shirt bra. We currently have 6 additional styles under development, expected to launch later this summer. Frankly is doing something completely new in fashion. Existing brands that offer braless clothing offer 1 or 2 braless options as part of a larger traditional product assortment. And the braless options they do offer are really focused on basics and base layers. Nothing style-driven that gets women actually excited to purchase and wear them. And none of them create clothing specifically for larger chests. In designing style-driven braless clothing tailored to a larger chest size, Frankly is fighting the status quo and making it possible for all women to go braless.
Our target customer is a young professional millennial woman. She's hypersocial, driven in her career, and has disposable income. We're very lucky that we already have a built-in audience of loyal Frankly fans, over 77,000 of them on TikTok and another 4,000 on Instagram. This helps our organic growth strategy and contributes to keeping our customer acquisition costs low. In October of last year, Frankly ran a successful Kickstarter campaign to test product market fit. This campaign was fully funded in under 5 hours and more than doubled its ultimate goal, all with under $1,500 in marketing ad spend. The pent-up demand is real. Since then, the brand has gone viral on TikTok twice, garnering over 4 million views, and we have nearly 2,000 people on our waitlist at this time. Frankly launches direct-to-consumer on our website next month, and leading up to launch, we've already secured press coverage, including a feature by PureWow, amongst others. We anticipate making $250,000 in 2021, comprising our first 3 quarters of operations. And while we're already first order positive, we hope to be fully profitable by 2023. Our supply chain is set and all of our partners are secure, and we have already proven that we can deliver, as evidenced by our Kickstarter fulfillment and early customer feedback. We're fortunate enough to have raised $475,000 in a pre-seed round, even in the midst of a pandemic where retail has taken a serious hit. Our goal is to hire 2 additional employees in 2021, release 2 successful product collections, and achieve our B Corp certification to further our goals to make the fashion industry more sustainable. We have big dreams for Frankly and a realistic roadmap to be able to achieve them. Frankly is creating a whole new category of clothing. What Lululemon did for athleisure and what Spanx did for shapewear, Frankly will do for braless clothing. We hope you'll join us in the braless revolution. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Team Frankly. We now have 10 minutes for Q&A.
Well, I think I'm in your target market as defined in your presentation, and I love this. I'm super excited about it. I can say that, I was in maternity leave at the beginning of the pandemic, and you definitely are braless for most of that time. And I know that most of my friends would love this as well. I think the one thing that I'm thinking as I'm seeing your collection and watching this presentation is, I have to want to purchase one of the items in your collection to get a benefit from your product, right? And so you were talking about how women want to wear clothing that they want to wear, and many bras don't allow them to do that. So I guess I'm just thinking what are your thoughts around how you want to grow your collection, or how you're going to be appealing to more women in the market?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. And I think in general, when we focus on our styles, we do want stylish clothing, but in general, we try to focus on evergreen styles. So nothing super trend driven that next year you're not going to be able to wear your puffy sleeve romper. We try to go for evergreen styles that you can keep in your closet for use after use. And then we are working on a few more basics that will go into our collection. So elevated basics that kind of work for both the dress up and dress down category. So I would say the first collection is a little bit more dressy. So we are trying to widen the assortment there. But we have found that the styles appeal to a wide audience. We originally focused on kind of millennial women, but obviously, as shown by our TikTok traction, the younger generation is also responding well, particularly to these designs. And then Grace actually did a lot of great work on a generation slightly older. One anecdote is her mom is really excited to buy all of our clothes, but that was a common refrain as well. So the adjacent markets seem to be interested because of sort of the evergreen nature of the styles.
I like that. I like how you're thinking about evergreen styles, and also how you said elevated basics. I think that's a really good way to market that.
I joined Laura, part of the target demographic, very excited to think about this, and lots of stories from the pandemic as well, certainly. Could you talk a little bit about your production costs in the supply chain, just to understand that in a little more detail, please?
Sure, I can talk a little bit about the supply chain, and then Jane can tell you a little bit more about our pricing and margins. So we make everything here in the United States at a female-owned and run factory. Our partners are mostly based in Los Angeles, both from a supplier perspective and a manufacturing perspective. And then we fulfill out of Chicago, but we may be moving to a 3PL based in Dallas in the near future. So those are kind of our partners, and where the majority of the costs come into play. And I'll let Jane talk a little bit about the margins, et cetera.
Yeah, sure. So in terms of margins at this point in time, we this first collection and also the collection launching in the summer, all of those are above 60% gross margin on each item. And when I talk about gross margin, that means we're including materials, tags, trim, labor, and also transportation to either the warehouse or right now, Heather and I in terms of Chicago. And so, the reason why we looked at 60% was because we saw companies like Lululemon are kind of at that 60% gross margin in terms of their long-term, business as usual number. For a lot of D2C brands, that is a higher gross margin. And I think, right now we're producing in the US. Heather and I are very, very committed to ethical labor, basically making sure also we're having sustainable practices. And so if we do move overseas, it's going to be probably a pretty long due diligence process. But we do know that will help margins in the longer term. And so, longer term, we're hoping we're going to get to closer to 70% of gross margin, and then spend more money in terms of marketing and repurposing that about 10% that we think we're going to get.
I appreciate that. Just to challenge that, on the flip side is the sustainable, ethical component and all female owned, marketing that I believe the research demonstrates people will pay a premium for that, right? So you could double down on that strategy.
Yeah, I think for sure. I think if we did move to Asia, actually our production company does have, a small factory in Asia. And so we trust her. We think that that is a possibility for down the line. We've actually researched a lot of the sustainable companies out there right now, and Vietnam also has some places that have great labor practices and sustainability practices and are really the leaders, like Everlane, et cetera. A bunch of them produce there. But we do love producing in the US. I think we just have to make sure, like, you know, longer term, as we start actually operating next month, that we can see that our margins are going to support this business long term.
I'm sure our male counterparts have lots of questions, but since they're not there yet, my one other question for you, what's an example of an elevated basic?
Yeah, a couple of the items from our next collection, we actually have a scoop neck, kind of like tank top, both in a bodysuit, and then we could also make it in a top form, and then also a short sleeve shirt. So we've heard a lot of people that they're like, I want to go braless, just like in a really like classic casual outfit. So those are like everything is made with kind of like a luxe material and as a little bit more, I would say, like high quality than like a basic t-shirt that you might buy at Target. So elevated there, and often have fun little details at the shoulder or at the hem of the sleeve or something like that. Thank you.
Really quick question. You mentioned about the AI on your app to kind of, I guess, to measure the woman and what she's wearing. When you have so many different body shapes and sizes, how does the woman know what's going to fit them given the size of their chest and stuff like that, just from the app? I'm just trying to better understand that.
Yeah, sure. So this is actually a third-party company that we have partnered with. And so they get a very small cut of revenue for people who do use their specific fit finder is what they call it. And so you enter things you know about yourself, for example, your height, your age, like, you know, are my shoulders a little bit wider, a little bit narrower than usual? And they actually take aggregated data and like look at your grading rules in terms of how you size and assign a person correspondingly. And so, you know, I think on our end, it's really not a ton of work, but they have done this across brands and have a lot of data on just general body types. And so partnering with them, we think is going to really help our return rate and help people get into the right size.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I'm thinking about how the idea of this sounds great, like not, you know, being able to have a dress or whatever that supports you in a way that you don't have to wear a bra, but the execution might be challenging. And I was wondering if you have users had the opportunity to have like repeat purchases? And if they have, do you have any data on if people are coming back and buying something else?
That's a great question. So our Kickstarter was kind of a one and done, and we have started fulfilling all of those Kickstarter orders. And so far, the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. And, you know, anecdotally, people have been like, I can't wait until you launch on your website. For example, on this slide, the Charlie was not available on Kickstarter, and people are like, I can't wait to buy that dress. So I think anecdotally, we know that people are interested, and that the first product worked for them, or the first couple of products worked for them, but there haven't been opportunities fully yet to do repeat purchase. So we don't have data on that.
Okay, thanks.
We have time for one more question. One more question.
Yeah, I've got a question, and I'm certainly not an expert on this topic, but I have 3 daughters that I know would be fascinated by this, and I certainly hear about the challenges quite often here. Could you tell us a little bit about competitors in this space and how you're differentiating?
Absolutely. So competitors in the space. So I think honestly, the biggest competitor is sticking with the status quo and just sucking it up and wearing your bra. Women have been trained to do that from, you know, the age of 13 or 14. So this is definitely a behavior change, although a very welcome one. But in terms of people that actually have something on the market, there are a couple of small brands, NYX and BL Tops are the ones featured here. And what they do is they have like a built-in shelf bra, which if you're a woman, especially a woman with a chest of a certain size, you know that those don't do a lot in terms of support, and they often don't fit correctly. I think the biggest differentiator is the only people that have played in this space, one, really marketing it as like a braless thing is not something that brands have started doing. They have a larger product assortment. Oftentimes it's in undergarments. So it's like a bra company and they're like, oh, we have one tank top that also kind of like works as a bra. So they don't market it the same way. It's not designed for a larger chest, and it's all developed as like a base layer to be worn layered underneath something else, not to give you the opportunity to go without a bra and wear something with like an open back or a thin strap that's difficult to wear with a bra at this point in time. They're all things you could just put a bra under and you would be fine.
Great, thank you.
Awesome, fantastic. Well done, Team Frankly. We are now moving on. We are halfway through. Everybody, well done so far. Team Tessellated, you are up next. Please share screen and take it away.
Graphene is the strongest theoretical substance known to man. It is 1 atomic layer thick, and its strength comes from its structure of repeating polygons, also known as...
I'm not seeing the slides.
Oh, my apologies. All good now?
Looking good, and if there's ever a day you get a pass, it's this day. No problem on our end.
Thank you, Matt. Graphene is the strongest theoretical substance known to man. It is 1 atomic layer thick, and its strength comes from its structure of repeating polygons, also known as tessellation. My name is Chris Carangelo, and here at Tessellated, we have tapped into the latent strength of graphene in order to make the world a greener and safer place. There is an ever-increasing need for low-weight, high-strength composites in a multitude of industries. There are hundreds of composites that exist, but they really only exist in 2 types, film or fiber. Films are cheap and can be mass-produced easily. However, their mechanical properties are usually lacking. Fibrous composites can be incredibly strong, but their manufacturing process is labor and energy intensive, making them expensive and difficult to mass produce. Additionally, once the composite is made, it is very difficult to recycle without considerable losses in performance. To fill the gap between films and fibers, we developed PE Graphene, a film with the strength of fibrous composites that keeps all the redeeming qualities of films. Our material is so lightweight and strong that we are currently being looked at by scientists tied with NASA for use in next generation solar sails. So why does our material matter? Well, weight is paramount in industries such as aerospace, packaging, and automotive. Less weight means less fuel, which means more money saved. It is estimated that fuel costs account for 21% of all spending by airlines and 60% of all shipping operating costs. There are many lightweight materials that exist, but very few have the strength to play in these markets. PE graphene is 7 times stronger than steel, and it has better ballistics protection than Kevlar while being 33% lighter. If even one component of the fuselage of American Airlines planes used our material, it would cut 3,100 pounds, saving $100 million in fuel costs and removing 800,000 tons of CO2 from the atmosphere per year, which helps their bottom line and the environment. Aerospace, automotive, and packaging. These are huge industries with high growth potential. However, they have incredibly high barriers to entry and tend to be skeptical of new materials. So it is commonplace in the composites world to prove out your material in a smaller market first, and we intend to do just that. PE graphene's properties also make it very well suited to be used in the sports helmet industry. With our high impact resistance and low weight, we can offer material for safer and lighter helmet shells. Personal testimony from athletes and equipment managers, from youth to pro play, have all complained about how many of the current helmets are too heavy, leaving athletes with sore necks after practice. After a successful launch into the sports market, we plan to transition into ballistics protection. And once finally fully scaled, we plan to pursue one of the larger aforementioned markets. We have determined that we would be a tier 1 supplier. From this vantage, we know to be successful, we need to both entice a raw material supplier and an end product manufacturer. And I'm happy to announce we've already done both. We have a product development agreement with Mito Materials as our graphene supplier, who are located right next door in Indianapolis. We will exfoliate Mito's product into a polyethylene base and provide cross-laminated films ready for manufacture by top helmet OEMs. Rydell, the largest football helmet manufacturer in the world, has reviewed our patent and is interested in acquiring samples of our material to determine if they would like to use it. Further customers will be reached through case studies, design competitions, and trade shows. Our ease of manufacture and local supplier will allow us to meet any demands of our customers quickly and efficiently. The low cost of material used coupled with our patented manufacturing process allows us to manufacture PE graphene for just $3.60 per pound, a figure that will go down as our economies of scale rise and the price of graphene falls. We will be charging $5 per pound, as this is the estimated price for structural composites to be economically viable in mass production products, while also allowing us sizable margins. In addition to selling our material, we will also be licensing our technology. By year 4, Tessellated will be cash flow positive, making a profit of over $10 million. Within the different markets we've mentioned, we see these 4 materials as our main competitor. Our biggest advantage is our strength to weight ratio, price, and scalability. Just recently, we were able to confirm that our material is recyclable without any loss in strength. Our next step is to scale to small batch production in order to send out samples to prospective customers. In order to do this, we are currently looking to US extruders who have quoted us on a custom manufacturing line. Within the coming year, our main focus is to win the Head Health Tech Challenge. This is a competition sponsored by the NFL with upwards of $2 million in awards for new innovative products around helmet technologies. Excelling in this competition will grant us significant exposure and credibility. Lastly, we have received interest from Elevate Ventures and will be applying to an SBIR grant for our pre-seed round. We are a team of individuals with diverse backgrounds who are passionate about the product we have created. We recognize that we're young, but we know how far we can take this. We recognize that we're young, and we know how far we can take this because we cause excitement. People are coming out of the woodwork to be a part of our team, from investors to advisors to even some of the judges I met yesterday. Our advisors have extensive knowledge in the composites market, scaling composites, as well as risk management and technology implementation. Additionally, with their expansive network, we can and will find experienced talent needed for our team. Together, we are Tessellated, where we don't sell composites, but an opportunity to make your products safer, greener, and more profitable. Thank you.
Excellent work. We have 10 minutes for Q&A starting now.
Great presentation. This is Martin. Quick question. Is your material something that you put on material, or you can make structures out of it? Meaning, like if I have a medical instrument that I want to make lighter, will I just form that instrument in your material? I'm trying to understand that, how your material is actually formed and used.
Sure. So currently we can produce films such as this. They're very small. This one's about the thickness of a human hair and can sport about 300 pounds. But we can also make them thicker as need be. Our current bottleneck is our manufacturing equipment. We just have very small machines in the lab, and this is about as large as we can go. But we can bring it to a thickness where we can thermally form our material into an end product.
Okay.
So along the same lines, how would like a football helmet work? Would you be forming the entire structure of the football helmet out of, or like most of the structure out of your material?
Yes. So essentially, we would be providing cross-laminated sheets of whatever specified thickness we'd need. We'd ship that off to Rydell, and then they would thermally form it into their design.
And just to step further on that, I know it would not be precise at this point in time, but any guesstimate about the price difference between something made with your material versus the traditional format, like a football helmet, for example?
Sure. So polycarbonate is the traditional material used in helmets currently. We are slightly more expensive than polycarbonate, but because of the lightweight, they would have to use less material. So it may actually end up being similar costs, but the benefits to their newer helmets would be lighter weight and better impact absorption.
Seems relevant.
Question, have you talked to Vices, who's currently the Notre Dame football provider of helmets? I know they have success, and just curious whether or not you've worked with them. Okay.
Another question related to the production of this new material. Where have other entrants in this market gone wrong? Where do things get gummed up, for lack of a better phrase?
Sure. So I think where a lot of other companies fall short is that they try to start into too big of a market. So, for example, a composite company, N12, probably they try to enter into too many different markets at once and they spread themselves too thin. Same with Haydale. They opened up too many manufacturing plants at the same time and their stock price dropped from $3 to 11 cents. We're going to have the due diligence to start slow in a small market and slowly build up strength so we can tackle the demand of these larger industries.
So Chris, Jack here. If you think out, let's say 3-4 years from now, when you get traction, and leave football helmets aside, but I would encourage you to drop a Vice helmet next to a regular helmet just for the absorption. But leave football helmets aside. What do you think would be your sweet spot? What product 3-4 years out? Who would be the big customers?
Yeah, of course. So 3-4 years from now, we'd like to expand into the ballistics market because our material has better ballistics protection than Kevlar, which is what they currently use. And from there, I feel like we can spend a couple of years scaling up even further. And then once we're comfortable, we have a certain amount of cash in the bank, we'll tackle the extensive R&D of, say, aerospace or automotive.
So maybe the defense department would be the customer 3 years out, your big customer. Is that what you're thinking, or?
Definitely, yes.
Is given that what you're showing that ballistic, I mean, that's a huge market, especially for defense and law enforcement. Having served in both capacities, I would think that they're always looking for lighter gear and protection, as well as helmets in the field and stuff like that. And so I know Vices was also looking in that market for the defense, but I think you have something a little bit more unique as far as lightweight protection, maybe even something you can use in armor for cars. I don't know if you've ever thought about that, and lighting that in automobiles for armor protection, especially when you're in the field with IEDs and bullets and stuff like that. So I wouldn't shortchange the ballistic and the DoD law enforcement side of the house.
All right, awesome, thank you.
Yeah, just to follow up with that, we had some contact with the Army Research Laboratory, and they did show interest on our material in terms of using it as a spouting protection. Ours.
How many people do you have on your team?
We currently have 5 team members and 3 advisors.
Okay.
And I'm sorry if I missed this, but with funding, what would you do next with any dollars that come in?
Of course. So I think our bottleneck right now, as I said, is our manufacturing equipment. So we'd like to invest in slightly larger extruders and hot rollers so that we can produce material of variable thickness and begin prototyping products. As you said, Martin, get a Vices football helmet and then make an exact replica out of our material and see how they perform.
Is your material, what's unique about your material? Can anyone else, are there any barriers to entry for someone else to get the same type of materials? Or is this something that you're doing that's special, that's only for y'all?
So the innovation behind our material is the way we are able to exfoliate graphene throughout the polyethylene matrix and the way we draw it, as well as the end material composition itself. So we have that as a published international patent currently.
Okay.
Hey, Martin, Jack here. Do you think the venture arm of the CIA and in the SEAL team would be,
I was thinking about
yeah.
I was thinking about that. The easiest people who spend the most money are special forces. They have a bigger budget to do a lot of let's just say experimenting with different materials and stuff like that. You go down to Herbert Field or and some of the other locations that I think that would be a good introduction to that, because special forces, they can do anything and have access to like that, and then go into big army and other branches and stuff like that. So I would look into the special unit, tactic units like that to experiment with. Yes.
Thank you.
We have time for one more question. One more question. Going once, twice, three times.
Well, are there any drawbacks to the material as far as heat, cold, brittleness, things like that?
Sure. Our biggest drawback currently is heat. Our melting temperature, I believe, is 120 to 130 degrees Celsius. So that does lock us out of specific components. But for example, aerospace and subsonic planes, if we were to make a material for the outside of the plane, we wouldn't have to worry about that. We're perfectly fine dealing with environmental temperatures. So if we put it into a ballistic vest or a helmet, for example, we wouldn't run into issues.
Thank you. That concludes our questioning. Well done, Tessellated.
Thank you.
We are now on to our next team, iDriving. Please take it away.
Hello, my name is John Sexton, and I'm the founder and CEO of iDriving, an assistive technology solution for those who have lost their independence to fully control their power wheelchairs with their eyes. Our story starts 6 years ago when my dad, Sean, was diagnosed with ALS, a progressive neuromuscular disease that slowly takes away your ability to move, talk, and breathe. About 4 years ago, he was losing significant mobility in his hand, making it nearly impossible for him to safely and independently control his power wheelchair. And that's where iDriving came in. As no other assistive technology solution out there met his needs, we created our own. And by the time that I graduated from high school, we had a working prototype that he still uses to this day. And as an electrical engineer at Notre Dame, I've assembled a fantastic team of undergraduates with technical, medical, and business expertise to further advance the project. And we've assembled a fantastic team of mentors who have helped us with general business advice, connecting to a network of support and patients, medical professionals, and caregivers, as well as connecting us with patent assistants. Now let's talk about the problem. And to do this, I'd like you to do me a favor. Don't move. While I'm on this slide, don't move your hands. Don't move your arms. Don't move your legs. If you have an itch, don't itch it. I'd like you to experience, even for the next 45 seconds, what the 135,000 individuals who are diagnosed with a neurological disease annually face 24/7. These individuals lose their mobility, they lose their speech, they lose the ability to breathe, but more importantly, they lose their independence and their quality of life decreases. In addition to the disease wreaking havoc on these individuals' lives, current assistive drive solutions worsen the problem, as the solutions out there, like the head array shown in this slide, are either impermanent, invasive, or incomplete. So how do we solve this? Well, let's all move together again with iDriving, our assistive technology that allows those who have lost their independence to fully control their power wheelchairs with their eyes. Our combination of hardware and software, as seen on the left-hand and right-hand sides of the screen, allow for an individual not only to drive their power wheelchair with their eyes, but to adjust their seating position, and even do something as simple as turning their chair on and off, all independently, all with their eyes. And compared to our competition, Ability Drive, which is another eye-controlled solution, the head array, which is what you saw on that problem slide, which is a assistive technology that allows you to drive the wheelchair by moving your head and pressing buttons, and the sip and puff, which is a similar technology that operates by sipping and puffing in a tube, iDriving, in addition to providing an alternative drive method, provides all of these additional features, such as adjusting your seating position, having an easy toggle between driving and communicating, providing supplementary caregiver safety apps, being non-invasive, allowing you to adjust your speed, and again, being able to turn your chair on and off that none of the other solutions allow for. And in gaining traction, we wanted to interview patients, medical professionals, and caregivers who are going through similar things to what I've experienced with my dad. And in talking to Eric, who is currently living with ALS, he told us, quote, "If I get to a point where I'm completely paralyzed, having a solution like iDriving would be a deciding factor as to whether I'd want to live or die." And the people we interviewed agreed with him, as 28 out of 30 interviewees rated their interest in our product as a 9 out of 10 or higher, and 100% of individuals asked expressed interest in beta testing, further proving the point that these individuals really are at a stage of life or death, and our product could further advance and extend their lives. As for our market size, considering the number of individuals with applicable disabilities, such as ALS, MS, CP, spinal cord injury, and stroke, there are 419,000 individuals each year who have this problem. And so our TAM is 1.13 billion. Of those individuals, the most severely limited with their mobility provides a SAM of 364 million. Our SOM is 10% of our SAM, so 36.4 million. And our beachhead of 20% of individuals who are diagnosed with ALS annually is 2.7 million. As to how we're going to take this to market, we're going to start in the ALS community. Since that's what we are the most familiar with, that's what we have the most experience with, and that's where all of our connections and network really exist right now, we're going to pair with organizations like IMALS and work with clinics like the Emory ALS Center and the ALS Clinic at the University of Washington Medicine to really get this product out there to as many ALS patients as possible. Once we get a stronghold in the ALS community, we'll move on to our follow-on markets in diseases such as cerebral palsy, MS, stroke, and spinal cord injury to further share this with people who could really need it. As for our business model, we're going to go direct to consumer through the insurance approval process. So how this works is a patient and their caregiver will go to a medical professional, a physical therapist or assistive technology professional, and explain their needs. Once that medical professional recognizes, and that medical professional who we've talked to before and has agreed to recommend our product to as many patients as possible, recognize the need in their patient, they will write a recommendation to insurance, which insurance will then approve or deny. If insurance approves it, they will contact a supplier company who we will have a contract with to get our product to the end user. We plan on talking to supplier companies like New Motion and National Seating and Mobility to accomplish this. And assuming, since insurance does not pay 100% of the asking price for assistive technology, we're assuming we're going to get a 50% reimbursement, so $3,000 in revenue, and assuming a 90-10 split with our supplier, we're assuming $2,700 in revenue for iDriving per product. Now we'd like you to drive forward with us. And so we need two things, mentorship and funding. And if we were to win the McCloskey Venture Prize, we would use it on two main things. We would use 20,000 of the 50,000 for our provisional and utility patent applications, and we'd use 30,000 to get supplies and also transportation for beta testing to make that happen, as that is one of our other next steps. We are also looking for additional mentorship with early stage medical device commercialization and funding as we move to these more complex issues and steps in the assistive technology ecosystem. Thank you for listening. And if you have any further questions, I'm excited to answer your questions. And if you have any further questions, my contact information is provided here. Thank you.
Awesome job, John. We have 10 minutes for Q&A, 10 minutes.
So you mentioned that the way that you would get to the end user is likely through recommendation through a doctor or medical professional. And I don't know that much about this market. How challenging is that to get to the point where you can be recommended and or like get in touch with all the providers that you would need to be recommended by someone?
So getting recommendations isn't going to be our main issue. It's going to be getting insurance to approve those recommendations. So our strategy is to connect with as many medical professionals, medical centers, and clinics as possible to get as many recommendations as possible for our product. And then we're going to also put together an insurance advisory board to help us strategize how best to get through insurance to get as many of these products approved as early as possible. Because another thing that typically happens with, I know for my dad, getting insurance to approve solutions is a very painstaking, time-consuming process. And by the time they approve some products, it's either too late or too delayed for them to fully work. So we want to make sure that, since getting through insurance is our primary difficulty with getting this product to the end user, we're going to do everything we can to get as much advice and connections to make that as seamless as possible.
John, have you identified any major regulatory hurdles? Like, you know, is this a medical device that you're going to do X, Y, and Z? Or wheelchairs have accrediting? Do you have to get accredited before you get to the insurance? And are there numerous ones? And if so, who does it?
Yeah, so we will have to go through the FDA approval process, but not the full FDA approval process. So taking those, I'll go back to the competition slide here. So Ability Drive, the Head Array, and Sip and Puff are all FDA Class 1 exempt devices. And using those as our predicate devices, we can also file as a Class 1 exempt device. And that will be how we get through to get this to market without having to go through any of the 510K processes or running more formal clinical trials.
Yeah. Just one thing I'd encourage you to do with the insurance companies, just check to see if these three, if they're in the market, very often you'll find a 2 or 3 different body accrediting agency. It's nothing more than trying to keep you out, you know, from getting, you know, delaying you another year or 2 with the insurance company. So just keep an eye out for that.
Thank you.
Could you touch a little bit on the pricing relative to the competition, how you would anticipate that playing out, please?
Yeah, so we estimate, we're taking Ability Drive as our example for where we should set our price. So from our experience with it, Ability Drive typically runs at around $6,500 as their asking price. So while we have all of these additional features, we also want to make this affordable enough so that if insurance doesn't approve this, patients can still have the opportunity to buy this on their own, because that would be another option. So we are going at $6,000 instead of $6,500 so that we're able to have a lower price, give every possible reason to the medical professionals to recommend this product over all of the other ones. And we're looking to add a financial member of the team to help us hammer out these details further, but that's our initial assumption and what we're planning to right now do.
That's great. And another question on your Caregiver app, do you envision that to be connected to diagnostics on the device, or is that more of a manual? Like, is there communication between the two?
Yeah, so the Caregiver apps are supplementary apps that allow for a caregiver or even a patient, I'll explain that in a second, to control the chair by other means. So we have currently working a joystick app and a voice control app that work on an iPhone and Android to allow for an individual who is not in the chair to drive the chair. And so while the eye-controlled version of our product is working, you cannot use the Caregiver apps, but they do also provide an emergency stop button that can be accessed at any time as an additional safety measure. And so for individuals with these diseases that still have their voice, the voice control option may also be something that's beneficial to them, because it still allows them to drive the chair with their voice while maintaining their independence and keeping their quality of life. But you can use them both at the same time, but you can't have 2 inputs controlling the chair at the same time. So you can't have the joystick sending signals while the person in the chair is looking at the buttons on the screen.
Thank you.
John, I applaud the effort also on working with the ALS Families Society to really, you know, that's going to be those avenues that folks like yourself, passionate advocates, going to be the best way to hasten the insurance companies and everyone else. So that's great.
Thanks. Thank you. And one thing that I didn't mention here is another avenue for us to explore is going through the VA. So the VA is really, really good about getting assistive technology to veterans. And so we have plenty of connections through specifically IMALS to, for example, the chief neurologist at the VA. So when we get to the stage where we can launch this, we'll go through the VA first That's actually something one of the companies that inspires us, they're called Lucy. They're an assistive tech company that provides a proximity sensor for chairs. They're actually pairing with Permobile, which is a wheelchair company in the VA, to provide their solution to veterans first before they hammer out all of the other issues with insurance to get it to the more to the civilian consumers.
John, I don't have questions, but I echo Jack's comment about just applauding your efforts here. My father-in-law had ALS, and so I very keenly understand the need here.
Thank you.
And one other quick question, are you doing this full-time right now?
No, so I'm a sophomore currently at Notre Dame. So okay. I am balancing this with classes, but we are doing the Race to Revenue program at the Idea Center this summer and planning to do full-time next summer as well. So I will be doing this full-time once the semester ends. I'll be in classes until I graduate, obviously, but I will be doing this full-time and then, you know, balancing it out with my classes as I go through. And then I'd like to be doing this full-time for a long time after I graduate.
Okay.
We have time for one more question. Are there any final questions for John?
I echo the others in that this is amazing technology and you're going to be changing lives with this. I guess one thing I'm thinking is, you know, why is this something that the other competitors have not yet built, or is there any like trade-off or downside or reason that like this hasn't been done yet?
Because it doesn't pay the bills immediately. So for us, my dad and I developed this on our own in high school with our own funding, and we tested it extensively with him as the primary user. And so companies, we've had conversations with some of these assistive tech companies, and one of the things that has been echoed is because they do not have, this is more of their fun side project than their main development, because it's not something that they actively have time to go talk to patients and caregivers and really get their feedback as to what people need. Our device is the only patient designed device that's out there because it was designed by my dad and I, and my mom with her caregiver input as well. So that's the differentiator there, and why companies like Permobile or other assistive tech companies that create these solutions don't add this sort of patient-centered element, because there are times where you're thinking more about money than you're thinking more than the features. And we focus on the features and putting the patient first, and we'll figure out everything as we go along the way, because it's a learning process and we're really making a lot of traction, but we want to always keep this patient at the center of what we're doing. And that's the differentiator.
Just really quick, do you have an estimate of your cost of goods to build the chair?
Yeah, so we don't actually sell the chair. We sell a hardware chip, so a printed circuit board, along with some cables to connect it to an eye-controlled computer and the power wheelchair. And we also provide the software. And so to build the chip and to get the cables and to get all the software comes out to around $200 total to put that all together.
Okay. Any thoughts of maybe offering it as a product as a service, and you have a subscription model so that they're not necessarily have to buy the whole chair, and then just maybe it's $50 a month, which is more cost effective to get more people to adopt it because it's only $50 a month. And I mean, that's just an idea. I don't know much about the.
Yeah, so the issue with a subscription model is that insurance really hates subscription models for approving the device. So you're going to need to go through insurance to get the chair. If we can figure out, and that's something when we put our insurance board of advisors together to discuss with them, because that would be a much more accessible model for us to go down to give this to people. But yeah, that's definitely something to consider, but insurance just really doesn't like subscription models.
I was just thinking about the data also that you could collect down the line, usage, how often, battery life, all kinds of things. So, okay.
All right, we are at time. John, great work. Team iDriving, fantastic job. For our sixth and final competitor, we have Team Sleep Easy. Sleep Easy, please share your screen and take it away.
Hi, my name is Anthony Espel. I'm part of the Sleep Easy team, and we're making sleep convenient for those with chronic oxygen needs. This whole story, it started with my neighbor, Carter. Carter has hypoxia, and he's like every other little boy. He loves going to the park, playing with his dog, and he loves dinosaurs. But what he doesn't do well at night is sleep through the whole night. When I met this family, they had had over 4 years of restless nights because Carter keeps waking up. They have to fight him to go to bed. And so he has a hard time focusing in school. He gets mood swings, and he refuses to wear that pesky nasal cannula. So the nasal cannula, the way it works, it's got those 2 tubes that go in your nose and around your ears, and people just find it uncomfortable. The snares will rub sores into your nose, and people feel strangled by the nasal cannula that ultimately they take it off because they don't want to be tethered to an oxygen concentrator, resulting in getting a bad night's rest. So what we did for Carter is we built him an oxygen pillow. The oxygen pillow is ergonomics, so it directs the air to his face without him even realizing that therapy is getting to him. He's comfortable, and he no longer has to be feeling like he's tethered to the oxygen concentrator with our patent pending pillow. In terms of the qualitative data, his parents suggested or said that he was able to sleep through the night. They could sleep through the night. But we also collected some qualitative data or quantitative data where we put O2 stats on him, an O2 monitor on him, and we found that his average oxygen saturation is 98% with our pillow. Before, he was only at 94%, so we raised his base oxygen saturation by 4%. On top of that, the number of drops, so every time that he wakes up in the night, it's because his oxygen saturation keeps going down. And so with our pillow, he went from having 4 to 5 drops per hour to 0. We've also been putting this in hands of beta testers. So the people who have tested our product have compared it with their nasal cannula standard with our pillow and have found that their O2 stats stay the same. Now that's to say that this pillow is not for everybody. Currently, we've done over 20 beta testers with our product, and 30% of those daily users continue to use it, meaning this is servicing them and they're getting what they need out of it. We've also learned a lot from this beta testing and been able to redesign our pillow so we can accommodate that 70% that aren't getting the use out of it that they want. We also have 5 unsolicited pre-sales of people coming to us saying, we want this pillow, if not for them, for their loved ones. We've reached out to local DME and distributors here in the Michiana area, and Naif Alec, from the CEO of Alex Home Medical, said that I've got 6,000 patients that I could sell this product to. We also have institutions interested in our product that have a letter of intent to purchase 200 pillows at $150 a piece from Tannabell Health Services. In terms of the market and who would buy this product, there's over 36 million people in the US that have chronic oxygen needs at night. That encompass COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, home oxygen therapy, dementia, acute bronchitis, as well as Alzheimer's. If we take that same price that we're selling to Tannabell Health Services, we're looking at a TAM of $10.8 billion for this market alone. If we look at just the ones that refuse care within the COPD market, that's a sum of $192 million in the US.
As for our direct competitors in this market, there is a standard nasal cannula, which is the tube that goes to the nose, and non-compliance, where 40% of COPD patients are non-compliant when wearing their nasal cannula. And then you have our product, which delivers oxygen throughout the night without the patient even realizing. For our sales channels, we'll be conducting direct-to-consumer through Amazon, e-commerce, and a yearly subscription plan. As for medical sales, we will do direct sales and door-to-door sales for nursing care facilities, hospitals, home hospice, and through the DME. We are looking at a $30 COG per pillow. This allocates $20 for a pillow, $8 for a pillow cover, and then $2 for tubing. Through our subscription plan, we will encourage people to get a new pillow every 6 months due to the fact that foam loses its shape, support, and responsiveness, causing the user to sink deeper, leading to inconsistent airflow. The subscription plan is also designed to help reduce bacterial collection. In addition to this, we plan on saving people money by charging them $90 per subscription. Sleep Easy Pillow is a Class 1 medical device. For our pre-seed, we are looking at developing our quality system, prep for the FDA inspection, and continue to collect data to get our CPT code. This in turn will allow us to show efficacy for insurance policies. So this means that 20% of the funds will go towards patent fees, 20% for tooling and manufacturing, and then 60% to set up our quality management system. This is the team to make this happen. We have an advisory board to help us navigate the company's launch. With our model, we are on track to be valued at $40 million by 2026, and that's with us bootstrapping. Now, with your 50,000, this will jumpstart Sleep Easy with 1,500 additional pillows. Thanks, and sleep easy. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We will now open it for questions and comments.
Thank you, Team Sleep Easy. We have 10 minutes for Q&A.
Jack here. I just a point of clarification. Did you say that you would need to apply to get, create a CPT code or to become qualified to get an existing CPT code or have that, get paid for that CPT code?
Yes, there's already CPT codes that exist. It would just be to qualify for that CPT code.
Okay. Great. So does this...
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jack.
No, would this, does this address the sleep apnea market?
No.
No.
No, so this is addressing the people that sleep with nasal cannulas.
Yeah.
The reason one has a CPAP is they have what's called obstructive sleep apnea. So their throat's closing off, which requires a positive force to throw air down their throat.
Got it.
Have you approached any GPOs as far as distributing, helping you with that, so you don't have to have a large marketing team all over, just get with the GPO that may take your product there?
Yeah, we've reached out to several, and they're waiting for some of our clinical marketing data to come back in order to pick up our product.
Okay.
So just to make sure I understand, the actual pillow itself, when in the subscription model and issues with bacteria and the fact that you would need to continue to replace it, is there an aftermarket? Would the person throw the pillow out? What happens in the model after when the new one comes?
Yeah, so there's hypoallergenic foams that we can recycle. So we can, ideally, no one's going to be comfortable with the concept of us recycling a pillow to make other pillows, just because that sounds gross. So there are some other materials that we can use that can be washed and reused in this model.
Yeah, right now we're currently exploring memory foam and polyfoam.
And how do you generate the oxygen in the air? And does that just come out passively on the side of the pillow to me, or I sleep on the pillow, blows passively up? But more importantly, that generator, you don't need a bottle of oxygen. You would just use, do you have a picture of that I can see? I just want to know how it's generated, how much space it takes up.
Yeah, so all of these people already have oxygen concentrators. So like this right behind me.
Got it.
And so we're solving this last meter problem of people refusing care. Insurance is already paying for this machine and nobody's using it.
Got it. Okay, so that's being reimbursed. The generator's being reimbursed already for COPD or something, and that's okay. Got it.
So then your pillow hooks up to the machine that already is there. There's like tubing or something that connects it.
Yep, it just hooks up to, so it's got a standard nasal cannula attachment that goes to it and then just runs directly to the pillow.
And Anthony, how many patients a year have a generator like that out and being paid for today?
So of the
on a chronic basis?
Yeah. So it's over 70% of those people that are in COPD. So that's our targeted market first. And so that's like 8 million, I think it's 8.4 million people.
Wow.
And so talking about, it's great, 20 people have tried it, beta testers, and you said 30% adoption rate, people still using it. What was some of the feedback of why it was not a good fit over the long term?
Yeah.
One of them was human factors and ergonomics. So we knew from the get-go that we had to tackle the 99 percentile for both females and males. So that's when we realized that we have to have essentially 3 different sizes in order to fit the human factors and ergonomics for side sleepers.
Yeah, so in addition to that, as you can tell with this pillow, the pillow starts where my shoulder stops. And so as I lay my head, most of the people's mouths are down lower on the pillow. So we have to change the where our outports for this pillow is in order to address those people.
And I liked your story about Carter, and I'm very happy for his parents who are getting more sleep. I have a little one who doesn't sleep, and we wake up a lot. Is there anything about treating children that is different or significant in this that needs to be considered in all of that?
So right now, hospitals have the blow-by system, but that's not necessarily something that can be bought in the current market. So that's something that we are also exploring. However, that's going to also provide, that need us to do further studies on human factors and ergonomics for those to tackle the 99th percentile of children.
Got it. What is number 4? What did they, is
an oxygen tent. So what they do is they like cover the whole bed with like a pop-up tent, and then they drop the oxygen tube through the tent, so then it blows on the person.
Thank you.
In the blow-by system 3, what's that?
So it's a medical practice that people attach tubes to the side of the oxygen or the patient's bed, and then it's just a way to fix a tube to the side of the bed. So essentially our product embodies this medical practice as a commercial product.
Got it. And is there a CPT code, for a blow-by system?
No, so it's a medical practice. So they're just attaching a tube to the side of the bed. There's nothing.
Okay, all right. Side to up, sits up.
Do we have any more questions for Anthony or Milagros? Going once, twice, 3 times. Thank you, Team Sleep Easy. Fantastic presentation. That concludes our pitches and Q&A. The judges will now go into a deliberation. While the judges head off for their deliberation, we'll learn what local high schoolers have been up to for the McCloskey competition. To introduce the winning team, we have Idea Center startup coach, Gabby Marquez. Take it away, Gabby.
Thanks, Matt. Hello, everyone. My name is Gabby. I'm a current junior earning my economics and psychology degree at Notre Dame. I also co-manage Notre Dame's student entrepreneurship program here at the Idea Center as a managing startup coach. One of the greatest opportunities presented in this role is the networking landscape where students can meet with like-minded entrepreneurs. The Idea Center helps students like me connect with startup community leaders working to evolve the entrepreneur environment for young learners. To further connect, McCloskey has partnered with several startup youth organizations to mentor local high school students and allow them to participate in the competition this year. Today, we have our first place winners, Tessa Barenti and Natalie Moore on Team Storm from St. Joseph High School and Startup Mooksy. Other winners for the high school competition earn a total of $5,000 in sponsorship cash from the Garantoni Smith families for the top 3 teams, and our best female-led venture earned $500 from Teach Me 3D. Storm won a cash prize of $2,500 for first place, followed by Electru from Riley High School's Miranda Brewer and Christopher Book. Electru earned $1,500 for their device designed to detect when smartphones have reached full charge capacity and turn off. The third place team earned $1,000 for Samuel Dunn, Ava Montgomery, and Trinity Bruce on Easy Light Mask from the Career Academy in South Bend, working to create masks for developing countries that use UV light to kill coronavirus germs in exhaled air. Easy Light Mask, led by Ava Montgomery, takes home the best female-led team. Now, join me in welcoming Tessa and Natalie as they present their pitch to develop a 5-week workshop program focusing on core values: strength, control, opportunity, resources, and mastery. Their mission is to build middle school girls' confidence, to provide them the tools to visualize their future career through the lens of success. Tessa and Elodie, you can go ahead and do your presentation.
So hi, I'm Tessa. And I'm Natalie. And we are Storm. As young girls, we all have dreams. Mine was to be an engineer. All throughout grade school and middle school, I enthusiastically competed in every science fair available to me and took every science class I could. But in 9th grade, I started to realize I was one of the only girls, if not the only girl, in many of these classes. This caused me to doubt my self-worth and self-credibility as a woman in these STEM classes, and I then shied away for the next few years. Until very recently, when a teacher and mentor of mine reminded me of my ability and skill as a student in these classes. Those few years of self-doubt that I went through, we want no other young girl to experience. Every young girl deserves to see her future through the lens of success. This is why we created Storm, a workshop to instill self-efficacy and self-confidence into young girls as they enter into career exploration.
At the age of 12, girls' confidence levels tend to drop by 30%. While applying for a job, a woman will only apply if she possesses 6 out of the 6 listed characteristics, whereas a man will apply if he only has 2 out of the 6. Women only make up 28% of the STEM field, despite being over half our population. Storm tackles this problem head on and provides young girls the tools they need to get in touch with their inner selves to have strength and confidence to pursue the future they dream of.
STORM is our acronym in which we use to walk young girls through the modules, teaching them valuable skill sets and allowing them to prepare themselves for their career. Each module represents a skill that future employers look for when interviewing women for their career choice. Strength, the ability to take control of a situation, taking advantage of your opportunities, knowing your resources, and mastery of your specific skill set are the focuses of STORM for our deliverable of a 5-week workshop.
We're the Khan Academy of Career Confidence. We provide a curated, self-paced curriculum girls can complete on their own time, stress-free. However, we are a for-profit company and will additionally provide in-person workshops. To start, we will sell to middle schools and state educational administrators charging $500. This is a small investment in the tremendous increased interest of women in STEM. This will be a 5-week program, each week focusing on one module. Schools will pay the $500 annually. We are able to get our foot in the door because of our close-knit Catholic school community, meaning the schools are eager to invest in our program. After building a reputation and gaining experience, we'll expand to public schools. Our connections at RISE created a straight path to administrators at the state level. Because our product is not tangible, we will not be losing any money in creating it. Also, we have paired with multiple businesswomen who are willing to volunteer their time to help us create the best curriculum. We will provide the girls small items like journals and other supplies.
So we are going to start by bringing our pilot MVP to our beachhead market of all middle schools in Northern Indiana. From here, we will gather testimonials and spend the next 2 to 4 years with quick iterations to scale and digitalize our company, focusing specifically on search engine optimization. From here, at around year 4, when both of us have graduated college, we plan to then have reached 5% of our addressable market, or 750 out of the 13,000 United States middle schools, and generate a revenue of approximately $375,000.
Our competitors empower young girls through set activities and mentorship in a short period of time.
STORM is able to stand out from our competitors because although we also teach the self-knowledge and self-confidence, we are then able to expand on it and take it and focus it specifically on the future career success of our girls.
STORM is shaped by extensive interviews with businesswomen ranging from California to Indiana to discover our problem.
From this foundation, we then plan to start growing our social media presence, where we can establish connections and host our pilot workshops in more schools other than just the Catholic schools that we have our foot in the door with. From here, we will then build our reputation and plan on forming a team of content creators to finalize our modules.
So why are we qualified to run STORM? As a future D1 soccer player and a varsity cheerleader, both going into the STEM field, we can serve as role models. Also, we are both students of Startup Moxie, which focuses on entrepreneurship, leadership, and mindfulness. We're excited for the success of our company and ready for the work that it will take.
The vision of STORM is to give young girls the tools to empower themselves. Girls deserve to have the same confidence in their abilities as men, and we thrive to expose that within each and every individual. We plan on creating the next generation of women with the highest career success rate in business history. And we want you to help us take the world by storm. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, girls. Thank you, Storm. That was awesome. Tess and Melissa, you guys killed it. I just want to say great job, great pitch, awesome idea as a girl myself. Like, loved it, loved everything about it. And just want to make a fun comment here. Love the pink suit. That's beautiful. I wish I were my pink one. So you guys killed it. That's awesome. I can't even believe you're in high school. That's amazing. I guess all of us here would love to hear a little bit more about just like the experience of bringing STORM to life. So I guess my first question to you guys, it's what role did you both play and how did the experience help you grow professionally so far?
Yeah, of course. So we're obviously both the co-founders of STORM, and because of this, we've had a lot of shared responsibilities just in terms of ideating and truly trying to bring this business pitch to life. I personally learned a lot about how to communicate professionally and work with mentors and really just build relationships with each other and other businesswomen in this field, which we want to look into.
Going off communication, we both had to learn how we wanted to articulate our business plan to different investors and how to develop that plan that really solved the problem we were trying to tackle.
No, yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it's amazing experience. And about your experience with McCloskey so far, so would you recommend other students participating in the competition?
Oh, 100%. McCloskey really helped us form our business model. Because of all the judges' feedback, we were able to go back and ideate and improve based on that.
Yeah, McCloskey also gave us the opportunity to form connections with businesswomen out in California. We had mentors reach out to us from pitching, and now we have a whole network out there, which we never would have gotten without McCloskey. And it really helped form our business idea and ourselves too, as two entrepreneurs trying to figure out how this whole thing works. So it was awesome. Definitely would recommend. Yes.
Awesome. That's great. And I guess one final question to wrap it up. We asked this question to all teams. So what kind of like inspired your idea? You touched a little bit on that during the pitch, but what was kind of like the inspiration behind it? If you could elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah, so I guess it's when we were kind of like looking, what issue do we want to tackle? We noticed there was a really big issue with women's self-confidence in regards to the fields that are typically male dominated. And what we really wanted to do was just prove that women, like, you have the same skill set, you have the same ability, and we really want to expose that within everyone so that no girl feels like shut out in comparison to men in like their future careers choices. Yeah.
And for me, I remember it's always been something that I've held close to me because like I noticed the problem and I was like, well, I never want this to sway me from what I want to do and what I want to accomplish. And then I was talking to Tessa about that and we were both like, well, why don't we make
let's come up with something to solve it.
And so that's how we
created
the idea.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. No, that's great. We need a lot of girls like you, and I'm sure being women entrepreneurs, like, you're going to be role models in the future for a bunch of other girls. So that's awesome. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for your responses. And I wish you guys both like much success for your future and for STORM. Thank you so much, girls, and congrats for winning the competition. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Great. Well, now it's time for the audience to have a little fun. We're opening the audience polls so you can choose the best presentation today. The winner of the best presentation will earn $5,000 in sponsorship from the Sutherland family. So go ahead and vote, and we'll head back over to Matt, who will share our awards presentation for the 29 teams that made it into the semifinals. So Matt, all you again.
Thanks, Gabby. Okay, everybody, we are back to start the awards presentation. And I'd like to begin by saying a few thank yous. First, to the McCloskey family for supporting this event for over 20 years and staying with it and bringing this competition to now being top 5 in the country. Thank you for your dedication to our student and faculty entrepreneurs and community folk as well. Thank you to our judges who have contributed your time today and your expertise in helping to develop young entrepreneurs across the board. And of course, thank you to the teams themselves. We might have had some technical difficulties earlier, but we had no trouble finding the top talent with the top ideas that are seeking to impact the world. And finally, I would like to thank all of the Idea Center staff for making this go off without a hitch after we were able to launch. With that, I will begin our awards presentation. The Startup Showcase hosted its first virtual event on Thursday, featuring nearly 30 teams that created a profile on our partner site, Buzzit. The two teams earning the most votes for best presentation are awarded cash prizes from the Mike Vogel Family Sponsorship. In second place, earning $500, is iDriving. Congratulations to iDriving. In first place, winning $1,000, is CeeLo Enterprise. CeeLo is a social venture aimed at increasing the capacity of the agricultural sector in Senegal, a country based in West Africa. Also held this week was what the judges have referred to as one of the toughest competitions since McCloskey's inception in 2000. The 2021 McCloskey semifinals. The event featured 29 teams presenting video pitches to a select group of seasoned judges that advanced 6 teams into the finals and that we just saw today. Our sponsors have selected from those teams for a gathering of additional awards. Our first award category is for in-kind services. We'll start with First State Bank, offering a $3,000 cash award and $2,000 in-kind banking services. The 2021 First State Banking Award for Best Business Plan goes to Alcia. Alcia, led by business analytics student Joseph Hirschhorn, is working with his team to reimagine the feminine hygiene product dispenser and public restrooms by creating high-quality solutions for women everywhere. RSM US is an audit, tax, and consulting firm focused on the middle market throughout the US and a member of the global accounting network, RSM International. It is the 5th largest accounting firm in the US. RSM presents its $10,000 in-kind award for accounting and tax services to Team Tessellated. Congratulations, Tessellated. Plug and Play Tech Center is a global innovation platform for startups, corporations, and investors. Plug and Play will offer $50,000 worth of in-kind services to 3 teams to attend its Startup Camp, a program designed to immerse entrepreneurs into the Silicon Valley environment. Through a combination of structured sessions, founders will crystallize ideas and a business roadmap, build out their business model and prototypes, as well as present their refined pitches to the venture capital community at one Plug and Play Friday session. Teams selected for this award can receive an investment of $50,000 upon qualification to join the Plug and Play investment portfolio. The winners of the Plug and Play Tech Center Award go to our finalist team, Intervene, and semifinalist teams, REM Materials and Scriptulate, all working to provide viable solutions for critical issues. REM Materials is taking on one of the most challenging global environmental contamination problems, PFAS. As we watched Intervene pitch its goal to empower people suffering from addiction, Scriptulate is working the other end to help reduce the overprescribing of opioids and other controlled substances. Congratulations to Intervene, REM Materials, and Scriptulate. Our next award category presents potential investment opportunity for select teams by allowing them to make a pitch during upcoming board meetings. Elevate Ventures is a team of leaders, innovators, and experts throughout Indiana working to unleash value for public-private entrepreneurial initiatives in communities across the state and within its established regional entrepreneurial network. Team Tessellated earns an opportunity to pitch to Elevate's high potential startup board to potentially earn up to $25,000. Congratulations, Team Tessellated. Irish Angels, an angel investing group affiliated with Notre Dame, will give one team access to mentorship from several Irish Angels investors to prepare them for a pitch opportunity worth an estimated value of $25,000 and potential to earn up to $250,000. This year, the Irish Angels invites Team Mogul to attend its September 16th board meeting. Mogul, led by Notre Dame alumni and athletes Aidan Seale and Brandon Wimbush, aim to help current and former student athletes to profit from their name, image, and likeness, while also using funds to improve their surrounding communities. The team was also selected by another professional alumni partnership consisting of 2 former students that hit the entrepreneurial ground running following graduation, earning praise as Forbes 30 Under 30 and capturing investment for their ventures. Evan Ray and Sean O'Brien present Mogul with the 2021 Best Minority-Led Venture, a first-time sponsorship awarding the team a $5,000 cash award. Congratulations again, Mogul. In addition to the Ray and O'Brien cash prize, several sponsors continue to support teams meeting specific criteria for awards. We are grateful for the support of all of our sponsors. Up next, we have Schurz Communications offering 2 $10,000 cash awards. Schurz Communications is a Mishawaka, Indiana-based broadband and cloud managed services provider, and this is their 7th year supporting the McCloskey competition with the Schurz Innovation Awards. Chris Dautel, Director of Strategic Planning and Corporate Development for Schurz, has led the selection effort, awarding Frankly $10,000 for Best Female-Led Venture and Tessellated $10,000 for Most Innovative Venture. Congratulations to Frankly and Tessellated. Equicore Partners is best known for leveraging its collective experiences to build great and enduring brands. Its selection for Best Undergraduate Team fits its operational focus to assist talented teams in tight networks to evoke innovative thinking, to create operational excellence designed to deliver exceptional experiences. For Best Undergraduate Venture, we congratulate Friendover, earning $10,000 from Equicore Partners. Aiming to get her younger brother more active despite homebound restrictions resulting from the pandemic, founder Renee Yassine decided to work with fellow undergrad students to create games featuring multiplayer, motion sensing, video integrated technology. Lavrock Ventures invests in compelling early stage technology companies and supports founders and teams focused on the horizon, providing a full range of support with laser focus on guiding companies to its next stage. Lavrock Ventures is awarding $10,000 to the best graduate-led venture. That prize of $10,000 is awarded to Sleep Easy. Congratulations, Sleep Easy. The Greatest Social Impact Award is sponsored by the City of Plymouth and Marshall County Economic Development Corp. They congratulate all of this year's teams and wish them the best of luck in future endeavors. Marshall County EDC and the City of Plymouth selected Team Intervene, winning $25,000 for the Greatest Social Impact Award. Congratulations to Team Intervene. The mission of Startup South Bend Elkhart, a nonprofit initiative of the South Bend Elkhart Regional Partnership, is to promote and foster the entrepreneurial ecosystem of the South Bend Elkhart region. They work to stimulate the entrepreneurial spirit and culture in the regional community, identify and nurture new business startups, and support the growth of existing high potential businesses. A key part of this is connecting entrepreneurs with the capital needed to grow from idea through proof of concept to launch and growth of different companies. Startup South Bend Elkhart is pleased to award the $25,000 Community Venture Prize to Mandy Kinnikin and the Get-A-Sitta team. Congratulations, Get-A-Sitta. That concludes this part of the awards presentation as we await on the final word from the judges who are still deliberating. Thank you very much.
Do you need a he's off mute. Yeah. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce Brian Ritchie to deliver the results of the McCloskey Business Plan Competition. Brian Ritchie is Vice President and Kathy and John Martin Associate Provost for Innovation at the University of Notre Dame. He leads the university's Idea Center initiative and coordinates the university's innovation, commercialization, and entrepreneurship programs. Brian, please take it away, sir.
Hey, thanks, Matt. I appreciate the introduction. And thank you, everybody who has participated today, and been so patient through the technical challenges. I don't know how many of you have been engaged with this since the beginning of our time here at the Idea Center for the last 4 years, but I can't tell you how many people have written me and told me how much they are impressed by the quality of the teams, the quality of the companies, the quality of their preparation, and the quality of their presentation. So thank you to everybody who has participated. Also want to give a special thanks to all of the judges who have spent their time and have been willing to give so much of their effort, not just in this round, but in all of the rounds leading up to this at this point. So without further ado, I am extremely pleased and happy to announce that the winner of the $50,000 prize for the McCloskey Business Plan Competition this year is Juke. So congratulations. Fantastic applause all the way around. Very happy for this company. And look forward to seeing what you accomplish. And have to be honest, very excited to see what all of the companies in the competition continue to go forward and do. And as most of you know, there are additional resources available at the Idea Center, up to and including venture capital investment. And we'll be very excited to talk to all of these companies about opportunities to get access to that capital as well. We're very impressed with all of the companies that participated in the competition today. So again, congratulations, Juke. Congratulations to all of those who participated today. And I'll give it back to you, Matt, to wrap it up.
Thank you, Brian. Yes, we have one more award to give out here. This goes to from the voting that has been underway for the last half an hour. And thank you all for voting for the Sutherland Family Best Presentation. This year's winner of $5,000 goes to iDriving. Congratulations, iDriving. Thank you all for joining us, and congratulations to all the teams competing today and throughout the season. Thank you to all the sponsors. Thank you to the McCloskey family. Thank you to the judges, and thank you all for your participation and effort in making this a top 5 business plan competition in the United States. With that, we bid you farewell, and we look forward to doing this again next year.
And hope to see you at the concerts.
Cheers. Good day.
Bye now.